Okay, cool.
Good? Okay. How about I make this start?
Okay.
Okay. So I am Bettina, one of the co-founders of the Ottawa Tool Library. I came down, we did a road trip. We came, and this is Annika. Stand up, please. Annika, our co-student, and Christine, our tool librarian. We're awesome. We are representing the Canadian contingency. Our tool library is fairly new. We only opened up in October, and we are already looking at expanding. So it's going really well. And a little tidbit would be, any ideas, you guys? Anything interesting? No? We have a tool doctor on staff with us, so he's a great volunteer, and his name is Phil, so it's Dr. Phil. If you have any issues, you talk to Dr. Phil. He'll show you how the power cell works. Or yeah. Next one up.
Hi, I'm Aurelia McSwain. I'm from the North Portland Tool Library in Portland, Oregon. What else was there?
An interesting tidbit, maybe about you. I don't know. I heard, for example, today I was chatting with someone in a coffee line. One of the volunteers is actually a boat captain. Like, how cool is that?
I do special effects makeup.
What do you do? Special what?
Special effects makeup.
Ooh. For tonight's party?
I am bringing it.
All right.
Except this.
Yeah. All right, next one.
I'll find out. So I'm Chris from the Edinburgh Tool Library. Got here on Thursday. Lovely to meet you all. Having a great time. I guess we're probably the smallest tool library, so I work in a space of, I reckon, 30 square feet. So there's a desk, a seat, and about this much room for one person to stand out the rain in Scotland. And
Very cool.
Yeah.
And it's a police box.
And it's a police box. But
Picture. Later.
Oh, yeah, tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, right. We missed someone in the front. You'll pass. All right. Next one.
I can just point the camera at people and they'll have to go.
Nashville Tool Library. Yeah, we've been working on opening for 3 years. We are the 4th generation co-founders because everybody else abandoned before it opened. We're already looking to expand and we haven't opened yet.
Ambitious.
Yes, very ambitious. Huge dreams. Interesting tidbits. Possibly the smallest city that is going to have a tool library.
Possibly.
I don't
What's
know.
your population?
I don't know. What is it?
Probably 100,000.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Baby city.
But yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you.
I'm Ross. I'm with the Denver Tool Library, almost said public library. Started doing classes with them recently. I was talking about it earlier. We're about to celebrate our 1st year anniversary on April 1st with a little rock concert down the street. We're constructing a massive cardboard baby sculpture that's going to have like a sash. It says like DTL turns 1. It's super creepy. But that's like the best part about it. Interesting little tidbit about the tool library.
Or you.
All right, I have a background in automotive interiors, custom and repair of like upholstery and headliners and dashboards and things like that. Recently got out of that and started making furniture though for a company that does custom restaurant booths. So, glad to be here.
Hey everybody, my name is Ilya. I'm starting the first tool library in Hawaii called the H&L Tool Library in Honolulu. Hopefully we'll be up and running by the end of the year. We kind of have an unofficial mascot, and it's my pet chicken. Everybody loves her, so I'm the bingo.
Hi everyone, I'm Dave from the Northeast Seattle Tool Library. What's up, Seattle? And we just celebrated our 3rd year this past January. Things are going great.
Yeah, I guess we go. There's Mike. Oh, hi, we're the West Philly Tool Library. I'm Charlotte.
I'm Judson.
Kathleen.
Mike.
All right. Interesting tidbit. You drive here?
We've been around for about 8 years. Yeah.
8.
And we drove. It only takes about an hour and 45 minutes. Not so bad. Okay. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
I'm
I live in Philadelphia as well, so but I didn't come with these guys, and I'm not part of the West Philly Tool Library, though I wanted to be. Anyways, I'm here to sort of learn from everybody else here. I manage a co-working space though in Philadelphia. It's called CultureWorks Greater Philadelphia. You guys should check it out. It's for largely the cultural arts heritage sector. We're a nonprofit organization that does multiple things besides just co-working. So I think a lot of the stuff that I'm hearing today is very, very similar. So it's interesting to exchange that type of idea with you guys.
Thank you.
Morning, everyone. There's Louise, Audrey-Anne, Matthew. We're from Montreal, the only French-Canadian tool library. It's true, first in Quebec. It was hard to open. I've not been part of the whole process, but it took almost 3 years to get the city in and get like a rent or places like that. She talked about the crowdfunding. And we almost a year old soon. In June, we're going to be a year old. And we're told only volunteers, almost 100 volunteers soon. So lots of people involved, lots of people into it. So
lots of challenges.
Yeah, lots of fun, but still a challenge. More people there is, more people to like get together and to manage. Yeah.
Great. Yes.
I'm Jeremy. I'm from.
Oh, hang on, Jeremy. Can you wait 1 sec? Aurelia just had a quick question.
Are you guys participating in the sustainability conference in Montreal?
I think we do. I think that's the plan.
Okay.
With Portland, Toronto.
Maybe we should get each other's numbers because they invited me there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
good.
heard, and I think some other people in here should be attending that as well.
Okay.
Because they had a hard time finding tool librarians that knew anything, and they really wanted to have a tool library panel.
Okay. Yeah, the social economy forum. Right?
Yeah.
All right, back to Jeremy.
Okay, hi, I'm Jeremy. Met some of you yesterday. I'm from, I run Grow Pittsburgh's Tool Library. We're a little bit different from you guys in that we're seasonal, and we focus on getting people gardens, so building people accessibility to grow food in their own neighborhoods, which a lot of our neighborhoods just don't have. So I guess our fun fact is that we are not that fun, but we're at the beginning of our second year. We open next week, and I'm really excited. We have a big event planned. Television stations coming down, and they're going to do a little piece on us, and then we're also going to have a live event where the radio is going to be at our opening party doing a live broadcast with like 1 million listeners, actually.
Excellent.
So that
Yay.
should go, I don't know how that's going to go.
It's going to go awesome.
Thank you.
Next one up.
I'm Micah, and this is Dan. We're from West Seattle Tool Library. We've been open about 6 years. We've got about 2,500 members, and we're the birthplace of local tools and my turn. So.
Hi everyone, I'm Ryan from the Toronto Tool Library. We also have Suzanne, one of our volunteers, and Lawrence, who's a co-founder, and Kevin, who's over here, is our library manager. So we have 4 locations in Toronto. We have paid staff, if you call that paid, like, poverty level salaries kind of thing. And we're in 4 basements, which we've managed to establish in very high rent Toronto, and a partnership with the Toronto Public Library, which has given us wonderful locations. We pay them rent, but we're actually in the same space, and the same roof, which is kind of cool. I don't know, we're going to hear from a lot about us today, because I think we're doing a lot of other panels. So, you guys want anything to add? No, well said. All right.
Hey everybody. We'll go through the chairs now.
I'm Thomas. I'm the director of the Northeast Minneapolis Tool Library, and just super stoked to be here amongst some great folks eager to learn. We've been around for just under a year. We're going to be celebrating our first year in May. And so Factoid is our space is in a building not too dissimilar from this that used to be owned by General Mills, and they used to do bomb technology in that building. It's complete with like the gun turrets and everything. So
delicious material.
That's right. That's right. So now we know our tools are safe. But yeah, eager to talk to all you, and thanks for coming. Thanks for hosting Baltimore.
Hi. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm Molly. This is Robert, and we're from Northeast Portland. One of 4 Portland tool libraries are here today. 4 here, 5 total, right? Yeah.
Can you actually all sign up? I'm a bit confused too. There's several cities that have several. So Portland, seems like all Portland. That's all Portland, okay? Great. Thank you.
We did not carpool, but. Tidbit?
We've been open just over 8 years. Last year we lent out over 100,000 tools. What do we have on stock? About 4,000 at a time. And total members ever were like almost 7,000, about 6,000. But you know, the ebbs and tides of people showing up, coming and going.
You guys have that many now? Whoa, you guys are super fast.
We started in a garage space that could probably fit like
a one-car garage.
One-car garage. So throw this in your all's future.
So I'm Jim. I'm from the Southeast Portland Tool Library. I'm the president of the board now. It's really exciting. I'm really happy to be here to learn from everybody. And my fun fact about myself, because I mostly just have boring metrics I could tell you about our tool library, is in a previous life I was a progressive metal drummer.
All around out Portland, I'm Kate. I'm from Hillsborough, suburbs west of Portland. We do not have a tool library yet. We are working on it, but what we've done for a year and a half is our library of things with the city library. So we lend out everything from sewing machines to GoPro cameras to engineering kits for kids to food preservation equipment and working on tools. My fun fact is that I get a lot of adorable emails from people of the birthday cakes they have baked for their children out of our library cake. and we tweet them.
In addition to the 3 Portland tool libraries, there's also Preserve and Serve, or 4 now. And there's also Preserve and Serve, which is a food preservation library that lends out like dehydration machines and canning equipment, and they also have enough linens and flatware for 100 people. And that's all free. There's also Something Borrowed, which is a party supply borrowing place, like something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. That's there also, and then we also have a kitchen share, 2 kitchen shares, thank you, 2 kitchen shares, so there's a lot of work being done in the Northwest.
My name is Andrew. I represent Kitchen Library, Perspective Kitchen Library in Baltimore. So working on that. Fun tidbit about me is I'm also a volunteer at the Station Road Tool Library. I have this dream of just renting out a garage space and just kind of like hoarding kitchen supplies and put it on Facebook and be like, call me if you need anything. I'll open the garage, do it in a month or a week or a year or whatever. But I'm really excited to be working on this project in Baltimore. It couldn't be like a better town to like sort of make that dream come true.
Hi, I'm Adam. I am a public librarian for the town of Mansfield in Connecticut. And we've had this tool library idea kicking around in the back of our minds for a little while, but you know, as public librarians, we're super busy doing all this stuff. Then, by accident, I contacted somebody at the Stanley Black & Decker company, and they said, hey, we're doing this thing. They said, that's wicked awesome. We've never heard of this, right? And so then they sent me a truck full of tools. So if any of you know anybody, or if you're close to a Stanley Black & Decker facility, hit them up because they'll probably give you a bunch of stuff.
Wow.
So basically a giant truck showed up at my public library, and now my office looks like a Home Depot. So I'm hoping to open our library maybe in June, because I have to get these tools out of my office because I'm trying to do other stuff. Yeah.
I'm Zachary. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. Spent the last 5 years in Oakland and used their tool library there, and then started volunteering and was enamored with the concept. Richmond, Virginia's home, was born and raised there, so just moved back. Only been back 6 weeks, so I haven't started our tool lending library yet. But I do think that Richmond has the interest in the movement to kind of bring something forward. I don't know if we're going to go the public library route or nonprofit separate, but I just wanted to come and get as much information as possible. So thanks for hosting. This is great.
We gotten everybody? Jeez. Yeah, I was looking for you.
I'm Gene from My Turns. Great to be here again. Quick little fun fact is that My Turn doesn't just handle tools. We have everything from baby carriers and baby slings to robots. So the most low tech to the highest tech being blended, and you'll learn a little bit more about that later.
Very nice.
Just say, I think the Station North School librarian should stand up and.
Hee
Beautiful. Thank you.
If you guys need anything, including back rubs, please come to one of them.
Yeah, that's for real.
So with that, I'm going to hand over the stage to Lawrence. I think there's going to be great things to talk about. Lots of questions will be addressed through some of our panels, and I think this will be chock full of information for everybody. Lawrence.
So it's obviously so amazing to be here. I'm so appreciative, and that's so interesting just to see where everyone's from, and it's so validating, I think, of this idea. Sometimes you can feel like you're working in isolation, and now when you see so many other people doing the same thing, it's really validating. It's really amazing. So I'm going to talk about the sharing economy and the larger perspective and the global imperative for sharing. But I want to start with a story, a personal story. So this is Algonquin Park, which is a park in northern Ontario. And in 2014, I had this idea that I wanted to go for kind of this solo experience camping. So I decided to go on this 60-kilometer loop and spend 5 days and 4 nights, like kind of hiking through the park. So I packed a bag with everything I needed. I gave my itinerary to the front desk, and then I went on my way. So the first thing I noticed, there was 3 things I really noticed right at the beginning. One is that when you're looking at 10 kilometers and it's on a map that's flat on a table, it's very different from 10 kilometers actually being walked. Second, my bag became, of course, extremely heavy very quickly. And the third is that my water filter broke. So you can't drink the water in the park, unfortunately. So in preparation for this, I had bought and tested this pump action filter. And about 4 hours into the first day, I knelt by the stream, and it just didn't work. So I was, just trying everything I could. I took it apart completely, and I put it back together. By the way, I'm not a tool person, actually. I'm more like a human person. So I put it back together, and then realized I'd lost a piece while I did that. So then I spent the better part of an hour searching the riverbank, and in the river, putting my face inside, looking for this piece, and I just couldn't find it. So then realizing that if I didn't leave immediately, I wouldn't be able to make the first camp by nightfall. And also thinking that, I'm going to run into someone else who has some of those like salt things that'll purify the water. I just went on my way. So in the next 5 days, I only saw one other person, and they didn't have any of these salts. So essentially, I brought along these fuel canisters that were I was going to use to like make rice and oatmeal and things like that for hot meals. But it was raining, unfortunately, for a bunch of the time. It was like kind of drizzling, and it was very damp, so I couldn't make a fire. And because I only had these fuel canisters, I had to boil water to drink. And so throughout the whole time, I was having to sort of like calculate by weight of the fuel cans, okay, like how much does it take to boil 1 pot of water, how long does it take to cool it, put it in my my water bottle, and then carry it, and then throughout the day I'd have to stop and do this thing. So I had to calculate how much I would need to get kind of through the park the whole way. So I was just actually living on sausages and bread and cheese and like trail mix and things like that all the time. And after the third day I just buried my food, my cookable food, because it was just an extra weight. And on the last day I had a feast on the spot. I ate everything I had left. I left that park fine. I was dehydrated and a bit hungry, but with a very healthy respect for fail-safe planning, of course. And for when you only have 2 cans of fuel, like you better know when you're going to use them. You better calculate how long, how much is going to need to be boiled to get you out of that place. You see, because I walked that park with everything I needed to survive on my back, right, for 5 days. And, not seeing anyone really for most of that time made me realize what a spaceship I was, cruising through that park. In a very similar way, we spin around this sun, right, in our own little spaceship. This Earth, it has the only, it holds, it is like a cup, let's say, and it holds the only water that we drink. It has the only oxygen that we breathe, and it has the only nutrition that our bodies require. And we share this home, of course, with like 7 billion other humans that make up this giant human family. And they're really all just like us, right? They're the same lung, leg, liver functions, right? Same protein, nutrient requirements, differentiated really solely by the last few millimeters of our external bodies and the way our lungs sing words at one another. We share this spaceship in our cosmos with X number of species that make up the giant community of life, right? The trees, the molds, the insects, the plant, whatever. All of it working together in this functioning complexity. We also have a bunch of mineral elements that we use to make our human experience on Earth. These are talentium, gold, silver, blah blah blah. But this is it. Like this is our inventory. This is our backpack. So short of, this is a real statistic, short of a mineral-rich asteroid slamming into the Earth, the chances of which are like less than 0.1% against in the next 100 years, safely, by the way. That's a real NASA stat. They've actually calculated that. What we have under our feet right now is completely, totally, and utterly irreplaceable. So how shocked I was at, to read this 2014 study on remaining resources. It was put out by British Petroleum. And it put forward that if you were born in the year 2010, by the time you are between 50 and 60, at current rates of consumption, we run out of oil. Between 70 and 80, coal. And if you live to be a ripe 110, you'll see the end of rare earth minerals. Now, can these statistics be exactly accurate? No. I mean, you do a search online, and there's like hundreds of responses to when we'll run out of these things. But really, that's not the point. The point is that if we know that they are finite, and if we know that they will run out, then why would we create waste? Right? Would we not, recognizing that these things are precious in their impermanence, design a way of like performing this human spaghetti acrobat societal thing that we do in a way that keeps that in mind? Because when you remove from the system of the Earth, right, and you do not put back, you're essentially rendering, like in a linear fashion, our precious resources into nothingness, into garbage, right? It's like this build, build, buy, and bury. This is the way that we are sort of treating our resources right now. Now, when I look at how our human family, your family, has expanded so quickly in such a short amount of time, I feel in turns kind of puffed up and proud at what we've been able to do, how we have dodged disease in the miraculous march of our genius. And also, I feel, of course, quite afraid for what I will see in my lifetime as we teeter on this crossroads. These 200 years, that's how I like to think of it, those crossroads. 200 years between 1900 and what was, very quickly the largest expression of industrialized murder that we had ever seen, when we used the full weight of our technology for the purposes of killing one another in the giant wars, and 2100, when we will see the most intense pinch of the decisions we've made thus far. And thus far, of course, we've designed all manner of ways to orient ourselves on this planet and deal with our governments and our resources, etc. But a lot of all these concepts, they have these fundamental flaws in them, these myths that are built into them. 3 great myths, that's how I think of it. The first is, of course, that we have infinite resources to continually convert into these things that we need.
right? False. They are finite, they will run out. You know, 2, that you need to own something in order to access it. You know, we all know that to be completely false. You know, really, ownership is often an emotional appeal. Often consumption is from a manufactured inadequacy that's sold to people. Anyway, it doesn't make sense. In an environment of scarcity, the logical response is, of course, to collaborate and to share. And the third and most damaging is that we only need to think in election cycles, that we have no responsibility to, our, children's children or whatever, forgetting really the real truth that we are part of the unbroken chain of humanity, right? Stretching back until we have a common parent, all of us together. So anyway, I like to think of this as like 100 years ago, we didn't even have this photo. This is like a galactic street view of where we are in the cosmos. And as Dame Ellen MacArthur, she's the founder of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation for the Advancement of a Circular Economy, as she put it, if there ever was a time to redesign the global economy, it is now, right? And that new design really must take into account where we are right now, right? The full weight of our genius. So the sharing economy, of course, I like to think of the sharing economy as just like the technology of using things more than once. It's basically just a way that we have learned, of course, all of us together, to maximize these things that we have already invested great energy and great resources into making. You really don't need to take apart a drill to see all of the things inside it, and it's so complicated. It's like a file drawer. Man, that is totally how I think of something. When I look at it and I just see that like exploded view, it's like pull out the file drawer, and this is all the plans and the iterations and the human technology and everything that's gone into making this thing, and it's used like 8 times and then lives in the basement and gathers dust. It's completely disrespectful to the finite nature of this planet. So we work in the realm of the sharing economy, all of us. And in Toronto, we have our tool library there. Ryan already mentioned some things about it, but I'll just tell you again briefly in case here we have 4 locations right now. 3 are kind of bigger. 1 is a small express location. They're all in basements. 1 of our locations is a makerspace. And then another location is inside the public library. So that partnership opened last year. We've been around for about 3 years, actually. It's the what's our birthday? Is it the
March 23rd.
23rd, okay. So we're turning 3 years old.
Wow.
This week. But actually, it's funny, because we've done 25,000 tool loans, and like when you said 100,000 in a year, I was like, whoa, that's like incredible. Important there.
Is that, are you one full organization?
Yes.
Okay.
We're one nonprofit.
Okay.
That runs the tool library. Yes. So let me just stay on track here. Hang on a second. Awesome. Okay, where am I? Okay, so basically this idea that we have to share this earth together has sort of was where our organization grew from. It's called the Institute for Resource-Based Economy, and that's what runs the tool libraries. And it's this basic recognition that the resources of this planet, they are the common heritage of all the world's people, right? Not to be withheld or wasted or like held in careless hands, especially for pursuit of a dollar, as if seeking that thing is more important than the continuity of this human species, right? And the planet that we all live upon here. Zooming out, libraries and collaboration. Libraries represent this departure from the single-use society, and they give us this world of collaboration that makes us great. Because of course we are not like just these islands of wisdom, right? We are archipelagos, all of us together, and we cannot steer that ship of civilization alone. And how grateful I am for it, that we can all come together and together write that manual for how to operate Spaceship Earth into the next 100 years. Of course, when we work together, we reduce the unachievable to basically to insignificance. I love this graph. It's kind of difficult to see, but it's a graph of like how we have expanded on Earth and all the life, etc. And it's huge, and I like the way it's displayed. It's like millions of years, and I think like, okay, we're humans, right? We're right down here. We're really small, and yet this is our impact, right? We are like reverse terraforming this planet. Let me just stay on track. Sorry, I get so emotional about that picture, to be honest. Right. I just want to okay, so this is where I wanted to stop and just make sure that we understood the goal of this whole thing, this whole performance of sharing that we're all doing. Really, we can broadly state that the goal is to maximize human potential, in my estimation, towards 2100, towards a starvationless world, right? to put those tools in people's hands who need them, and that's not just physical tools, but learning tools and knowledge in the minds of people who want it. And I had this way I was thinking of a way to summarize my overall message into these 3 concise points. So I had these 3 new rules. First is that the Earth is a swapping zone. This is my mom, and she's about to swap her nutrition into this cheetah's body. She survives. Yeah, she's okay. So anyway, this cheetah is feeding, so it was kind of crazy for her to do that. But so when I say this, I say like the Earth is a swapping zone. We are always doing a transaction with the Earth. Every time we use something, right, especially something that's disposable, we are making a transaction that is, we're not completing it, right? We're not doing something back, we're not giving back in that way. And it wasn't until recently that I thought that everything I do is a swap, right? Every act of gratitude that I give, it comes back to me, or every step I take on the Earth or do anything on the Earth, it has an impact, right? And I'm swapping constantly with the Earth. And I think that looking at it in that way is a very different way of looking at irreplaceable resources. Second, that stuff can be 2 things. Of course, you know this. Sharing and collaborating is a very enlightened way to use the planet. Working together, of course, we are much more richer when we all share everything. And I live in a communal house, actually. Where I practice intentional living. That's how my roommate is now saying it, because communal has a bad connotation. Anyway, so there's about 8 of us. And it doesn't make sense for us to all have our own pots and pans. That's such a completely ridiculous thing to do. And so it just makes sense when we look at our Earth as a communal living situation. Then it makes different what we have to own and not. And the third is that nutrition is non-negotiable, right? Like we do not starve each other. Right? We do not let humans die from something as simple as cholera. It's a ridiculously easy thing to cure. I wouldn't do that to my parents. It's not parents here. So why would I do it to you? This is these are our grandparents. We are one human family, all of us together. If you think back long enough, eventually we all kind of have this common parent, all of us together. Now this whole performance is about treating our cities as a communal living situation, and then our countries, and then the whole world. Let me just get this right. Right, okay, cool, right, okay. So the idea, of course, is to leave this Earth in a better state than that which we found it. This means less garbage choking rivers, less atmospheric pollution and underground explosions that are altering Earth's natural geography. It's kind of insane that this basic logic is even a fight, that it's an uphill battle, right? It's like, distracted are we by donkeys and elephants, right? Or by humans who are made famous for no reason at all, or for talents that we ourselves possess. And forgotten really are our family members, right? Who lost the geographic lottery and now live in suffering. Sometimes we can be so focused on our own human experience that we really forget how much our fate is shared, how much we fail and succeed together. This consumption and growth, they have become so attached to our sense of personal identity, and the fear of economic loss creates such a numbing anxiety that sometimes we can't imagine making the necessary changes. And maybe you're like me and you feel this little piece of guilt here that's like, oh, you're not doing enough. I like to think of that feeling as this historical weight, that you share the weight of that you share the weight, right? The weight of this world that's kind of been made strange. And I think only with that deep connection to the past can a legacy for a more beautiful humanity be built forward. It's about responding as humans from a place where only a more beautiful world is possible. We need to foster that sense of ongoingness, that we are not the last song on the set list. The concert will continue after us. Now we are, holding hands, all of us, looking forward to what kind of world this bundle of joy is going to inherit. This is Scarlett, she's my goddaughter, and when she is my age, we are projected to have an amount of coal, oil, and natural gas that, were that to be our immediate reality, that would shock us to paralysis. Now, if the goal is to make this world as beautiful and incredible for as many humans as possible, all of the humans, while doing justice to this incredible, amazing miracle upon which we all live, then this is the face of the revolution. Now, I want to share with you a final thought, but first I want to speak a poem that I wrote for Scarlett, my goddaughter. Dear small human, your cells are like evolutionary singing bells. They write a song of right in a world that's been made wrong. It was never a fight, but a negotiation of our own heights. We took our gifts from the ground, we spun them around, and we found that we'd made waste. In our haste to level up, to fill from an emptying cup, we drove faster. In our speed to fulfill our needs, we lost those who came last. When you've learned to form words, you will ask why, when we reached so high, did we instead focus on what was mine, forgetting our humanity in moments that we would regret? Maybe you'll know that we tried. But I would like you to know that in my lifetime we sowed seeds to feed our worldwide family. We realized our fate is shared, that nothing mattered until we cared, and we weren't afraid to hold hands, play in one giant band, and speak with one collective voice, the only right choice. With love from Uncle Alvarez. So in closing, I will say, look, if we're going to do this whole journey together, this whole human family, if we're going to go on this great backpacking adventure towards that first camp at the end of the day, I just hope that next time we plan to have an extra water filter or a couple extra fuel cans. Thank you. So I guess I'm introducing.
Well, we're going to move right into the, I think because we're running out of time already, or not running out of time, we're running behind schedule, but we're moving into the first panel discussion, and that will be on starting a lending library. And I would like to welcome fellow panelists Aurelia, Brian,
John.
Who?
John. From Station One.
No, who's on it? Michael? Oh my God, Piper, hello. I was like, oh my God, who is on it? Sorry, Come on up. We are going to have your So we are going to keep this pretty tight. There's
Nice. The little squishy died. The cheater died. The snake eyes died.
So if you guys want to go to the restroom, get another sandwich, get coffee for a second. There is more coffee now if you didn't get some in the first round. It'll just take us a minute to get our computers situated.
Hi. How do you do this? No. North Portland School Library. Yeah, but I made a presentation.
Is this alright?
Can you open your email on it?
My email?
Yeah, because Piper is, you got it?
Oh,
Never mind, we got it. Sorry,
No,
we got it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's
Oh, really?